America. I'm Mark Levin. Welcome to Levin TV on this beautiful Friday. You know what Friday means? Tomorrow's Saturday. Anyway, I enjoy, doing these things during the week. The weekends, I have to kind of hunker down, work on my new book, do things of that sort. So I actually look forward to Monday. Now, we're going to start by looking at an electoral map. Real Clear Politics does the averages of polling in each one of these states. And that's what this is. And what does all this mean? What do all these colors mean? All these colors mean that Hillary Clinton right now has 256 electoral college votes. She's 14 shy. That is, if you don't count the ones that are leaning towards her and so forth. Basically, she's doing extremely well. Again, it's a snapshot of a time and place, which is now. But I think the Trump campaign would rather be in her high heels than in his current shoes. You can see, of course, the dark states and so forth. Those will go Democrat no matter who they run. They could run an orange juice can and they'd still, let's vote for that. And that's what they would do. But you can see there are some weaknesses here. And it is very, very troubling. And she's now campaigning in Georgia because a recent poll shows her 3 points ahead in Georgia. She's now campaigning in Arizona because a recent poll shows her with a slight lead in Arizona. In Virginia, she has withdrawn her resources right now because she appears to be 9 to 10 points ahead in Virginia. In Colorado, she has withdrawn her resources so far because she appears to be a double-digit leader in that state, too. I can tell you when Ronald Reagan almost swept the country, places like Virginia, places like Colorado, these were red states. These were red states. There was no question he was going to win every southern state. Well, that's not true. He was running against Jimmy Carter. But in '84, there was no question he was going to win every southern state. So the map is difficult now for Republicans no matter what. So let me start there. Given what has occurred in the last 25 years with endless wave after wave of immigration, and given the fact that most immigrants, let's be honest, register Democrat and vote Democrat. And I don't even mean a small majority, an overwhelming majority. We're talking about 60, 70, 80%, depending on the ethnicity and so forth. When you bring in millions and millions of people over a period of time and they have children and they're indoctrinated into the same party, support and mentality as their parents, obviously you're importing Democrats from a political point of view. It's having an impact. It's having an impact in places like Virginia. It's had an impact in Colorado. This is the big one, Texas. This is where they're hoping to really take it out, because if there reaches a point where the Democrats are pretty sure to win in a state like Texas, Republicans can never win. Can never win in the Electoral College, can never win the popular vote. You already see it happening in Florida. I mean, Florida went to Barack Obama last time. That is amazing, if you think about it. And you're starting to see it in other states, because I am convinced, even though there's no transparency, surprise, surprise, because the federal government won't tell us what its standards are in terms of placing immigrants all over the country and so forth, I am convinced that what this administration is doing is diabolical. They're looking at red states or leaning red states. They're trying to influence them through immigration and other population decisions, social engineer and so forth, to turn red or red-leaning states into purple or blue-leaning states. That's what they're doing, and they have succeeded in Colorado. As a matter of fact, George Soros funded a project to try and elect as many left-wing Democrats as state secretaries of state. Now, why is that important? Because they're in charge of things like voter registration and those sort of things. And so they succeeded. And in Colorado, they used Colorado as an experiment to try and switch a bright red state into a blue state. And while it's almost a blue state, they've succeeded there. As I've told you before, I remember when that state elected a man by the name of William Armstrong. And he was a solid conservative, and he served for 12 years, and then he decided to retire and do other things. I don't believe he could get elected in that state anymore. Let's look at California. What's happened to California in 25 or 30 years? Do you know George H.W. Bush, when he was running for president, won California? He won California. Ronald Reagan obviously won California twice. Do any of us believe that George H.W. Bush could win California today, assuming the same circumstances in terms of age and no matter who he's running? Do you even think Ronald Reagan could win in California today? So in less than a generation, in 20, 25 years, here you have a state that was reliably Republican, which is now hardcore Democrat. That's quite remarkable. Our biggest state. And this is intentional. It's now a one-party state for all intents and purposes. And it's getting worse and worse and worse. So they rely on legal and illegal immigration to change the makeup of the electorate and to change the balance of the electorate. And they have succeeded. This is one of the reasons, among many, economic, law enforcement, health, and so forth and so on. One of many reasons why if we do not soon stem the flow of immigrants into this country, not to pick lettuce, not to do things Americans won't do, because more Americans actually do those things than illegal immigrants, as a matter of fact, then the Republican Party, for all intents and purposes, is dead in most election cycles, because the demographics and the numbers can never add up. So I just wanted to point that out as we begin the show today. Don't blame me. I didn't create these circumstances. I still believe if we have the right message, the liberty message, the free enterprise message, the national security message, if we can take that message, project it onto everyday lives of everyday Americans, and we can do it. Reagan did it. We can do that we have a chance of doing much, much better at the ballot box. But if we don't do these things, if we grab on to sort of liberalism light, protectionism and tariffs and that sort of thing, then we're not going to win. We're not going to win because the Republican Party really doesn't stand for a hell of a lot.